Hi! On the Woodpecker today, I'm making a basket to take the dogs biking. Renee does everything with her dog. Brushing teeth. Read the newspaper. Taking a walk. Kayaking. Biking. But that's a bit too much, so I decided to make her a dog basket for her bicycle. Actually, I'll make two. One for her dog and another for my daughter's dogs. So I decided to try my hand at bent laminating. Since this is my first try, I figured that a dog basket will be perfect to experiment on. To do the molds, I glue up a bunch of old beat-up plywood lying around. Each block is made of 5 layers of 3/4 inch plywood. When they're all glued, I leave them to dry. During this time, I pick up small strips of wood that I kept to try my hand at bent lamination. The wood is pretty beat up, but I don't mind, because I have to plane it down anyway. To do so, I raise the bed of the thickness planer by clamping a piece of plywood onto its bed. So now I can plane the strips thinner than what my planer allows me to do. Now that the mold glue is dry, I cut both of them straight. Then I stick my pattern on them and cut them on the bandsaw. When I'm finished, I end up with an outer mold, the part that will be replaced by the strips, and the interior of the mold. Each interior is then sanded smooth. Then I drill several holes around the edge of the molds. They will allow me to clamp everything together. I can finally start gluing the strips together. To soften the wood, I spray water on the strips. Then I spread polyurethane glue. It's perfect because this glue needs a lot of humidity to cure well. It will also expand a lot when it's cured. Since the strips are softer because of the water, I can just push the exterior of the mold over the strips. Then I just need to clamp everything and wait until the next day. To be able to bend the strips on the big mold, I cut the exterior in 3 parts. By the way, all the edges which might receive glue are covered with packing tape. And just like I did for the small mold, I put a lot of clamps around it. The next morning when the glue is cured, I end up with part of the basket. Now I just have to repeat this 13 times. After a little while, I don't have enough strips. So I prepare a bunch of old hardwood flooring by gluing them into a big block. So I can finish this. When the glue is dry, I remove the eye spots with the end plane and pass this in the thickness planer. Then I cut it all in pieces, which are 3 boards thick. Then each section is recut in thin equal strips, with the help of the guide I made earlier. Now that I have a bunch of new strips, I can glue them together in the molds. After a while, I ran out of polyurethane glue. Since it's quite expensive, I'll use my usual wood glue. To help me soften the wood, I soak the strips in hot water for 15 minutes. Then I put everything in the mold, clamp it, and leave it to dry while I go to work. In the evening, I remove the strips from the mold and glue them with my usual wood glue. Finally, after several weeks, I have enough bent strips to make 2 baskets. Unfortunately, the polyurethane glue left a big mess. I removed the worst of it by hand and make the sides straight with the jointer. Then I glue and screw both long curved pieces onto the 5 small ones. When this is dry, I glue a strip onto the top of the basket, but just half of it. Wait a full day and glue the other half. After waiting another day, I cut the excess off the top of the basket. Then I spread glue on another strip and on the strips already glued to the basket and glue them together. This is looking more like a porcupine than a dog basket. When the glue is dry, I sand one end of the strip flush to the one under it, so I can glue 5 rows of strips around the basket, but only one at a time. When all 5 are dry, I sand and make a round over along the top edge of the basket. Then I fasten the basket to my wife's bike and mark the angle on the base. Then I cut both ends of the basket base. Then on this piece, I drill and screw hanger bolts. Then I glue and screw the bottom base to the basket. For my daughter's bike, I have to carve a special shape that will fit over the handlebar. Then I roughly mark the basket angle and cut it. Okay, this was too rough. I have to put the right piece back. I sand it smooth before gluing it onto the basket. The rest is fairly similar to René's bike. The only difference is that I have to carve the side support because our brackets are held with hose clamps. Now that both baskets are done, it's time to think about the finish. Several strips look really bad, and I can see the polyurethane glue in several places. In other words, these baskets are ugly. That's why I decided to paint them. I start by filtering some old paint and really thin it too much. So much that I have to put more paint in the mix. Then I spray 2 coats on all the pieces of both baskets. While the paint dries, Renée is cutting some fabric strips so she can crochet a rug to put at the bottom of those baskets. When the paint is completely dry, it's time to assemble the baskets on the bikes. I just need to follow these easy steps. First, add the hard bottom, followed by the rug, and finally, the ugly dog. After spending several weeks constructing those baskets, I have to admit that I was waiting most of the time for the glue to dry. Now, we're finally fully equipped to bring all the dogs more safely for a bicycle trip. I hope you liked this episode and hope to see you for the next episode of the Woodpecker.